A huge outcry from teachers and parents today helped to save tens of millions of dollars that the Hogan administration proposed to cut from Maryland's schools. Now, the governor's budget office wanted to slice $672 million from the state's general fund. That was to help deal with a nearly $1 billion shortfall in tax revenue that's being blamed on the coronavirus pandemic. But the state comptroller, Peter Franchot, objected to about a third of the cuts, and Bruce Leshan reports the governor ended up going along.
Maryland is projecting a $925 million budget shortfall this fiscal year. Next year, it could be $4.6 billion, all because of the unprecedented economic crisis caused by the coronavirus pandemic. The governor says that the state has to start cutting immediately. The alternative, he says, laying off 10,000 state workers.
But sadly, as painful as these cuts are, the alternative to not taking action is much more severe.
The governor proposed hundreds of millions of dollars in cuts to higher education, to health, to schools, to public safety, and to cultural institutions.
Thank you very much.
But on the three-member Board of Public Works, Controller Peter Franchot, who plans to run for governor, rejected $205 million in proposed cuts to state workers' salaries and pensions, to behavioral health, and to teachers' pensions and performance incentives. He demanded the state continue to spend $11.5 million to build safer schools.
I just hate to see prematurely us taking balancing measures on teachers and state employees and vulnerable Marylanders.
Teachers had launched a massive online campaign arguing Governor Hogan was making a mistake.
No matter what model we look at reopening schools, whether it's digital or in-person or a hybrid, it costs additional money.
In the end, the governor and the controller prevailed. The board voted 2-1 to begin cutting immediately. But instead of $672 million in cuts, the board voted to cut $413 million right now. The governor says that the board is still going to have to figure out how to make up the difference or lay off some 3,157 state workers. In Bethesda, Bruce Leshan, WUSA 9.
Now, Governor Hogan has been lobbying the White House for more federal help for state and local governments. He says around the country, some 1.6 million state and local workers have already been laid off. He says that number right now for Maryland is 0.